Welcome to Hearts and Stripes, your one-stop shop for all things military marriage. I hope our discussions and interviews equip you with the tools to start or grow a beautiful marriage as we address the benefits and challenges of milmarriage. I believe life's most precious moments are worth celebrating, so I'll help you design your marriage blueprint in alignment with your core values. Thank you for joining us, and remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Let's do this. Hello, and welcome to the Hearts and Stripes podcast. This is your host, Bree Carroll, here with another Heart to Heart, and I'm excited that I will be joined with our special guest, Kimberly Gold, in just a few. But before we delay, I did want to let you know that this season is all about building your milmarriage. And I am encouraging each and every one of you to head over to the Military Marriage Date app, where you can find resources to use to help build your milmarriage. Now, without further delay, here is my conversation with Kimberly Gold. All right, everyone. Well, welcome to Hearts and Stripes podcast. I'm so excited to have Kimberly Gold joining me. Look, it's been a long time coming. We've tried to do this thing a couple of times, and I'm excited that she is finally going to be gracing us with her presence on this podcast. Kimberly, say hello to everyone.
Well, hello. I'm so excited. It is the Bree.
The Bree. Listen, I love it. Thank you. I received that. But I'm excited to chat with you on this podcast. I love to hear people's milmarriage story. I think there's power in hearing one another's experiences, because I feel like people can identify and see themselves in one another's story. So please share your milmarriage story.
Sure, I'm happy to. Well, first of all, I think that we have almost 8 billion people in the world right now, right? And 330 million of them being American. And so we often try to put so many things in boxes, like whether it's your race, your gender, your ethnicity, how you met. Like, everybody wants to simplify things so much. And it's not that simple. So for my milmarriage story, if you ask my husband, he's going to tell you, oh, we met in Korea. And I'm like, that is such a cop-out, because yes, we did meet in Korea because he was stationed in Korea and I was living in Korea because I am of Korean descent as well. But truly, girl, he slid in my DMs.
Oh, yes. Let's get the real story out then. Let's get it out.
He'll always tell people, yeah, we met in Korea. And I'm like, boy, you slid in my DMs. You thought I was cute. I thought you was cute. And here we are.
I love it.
And, but what's funny was I was in a season where I was like, I don't think I'm really ready to date. And I had been hurt. So I was like, I don't really think that I'm ready for this. And my husband is like super fit, y'all, like super duper fit. So I always tell people, like, I'm fluffy, he's flex, together we're flex and fluffy, but, and I was like, oh, you know what? This seems like a really nice guy. Let me use this opportunity to get to know him and maybe work out and do some personal training. So we do that. And I mean, he was like, listen, okay, the first things first, you really got to clean up your eating. So I'm like, oh, okay, fine. So we commit to a food plan and all this other stuff. And then literally like a week into committing to this food plan, my kiddo from a previous marriage, they're going to the States to go visit their dad. So I was like, okay, well, my kiddo wants to go out to eat. We went to go eat Thai food. And then the kid's like, okay, can we please go get ice cream? Who am I to deny my baby?
Correct.
And to deny myself, right? So we get ice cream. This is at Baskin Robbins in the SED, for those of you who are familiar with Osan Air Base. And I just received my ice cream. I'm about to take a big, beautiful lick of it. And I feel somebody like staring at me. And there's this Baskin Robbins in Korea has these big glass windows. and I'm looking through my cone through the glass, and it is my now husband glaring
Oh
at me. and and he walks in, he takes my ice cream cone. He has never met my child, but I've talked about my child, and he's like, Echo, why are you letting your mom have this? You know, she committed to a food plan. She's not supposed to be having this. And I'm just like wide-eyed, like, what is happening?
yes.
And, and then not only does he take my ice cream, he starts to eat it.
Oh no.
And mind you, this is me like 2 weeks of knowing him. I barely know this man. He is a stranger. But that was June the 7th, 2019. And then we got married on June the 7th, 2021.
Wow. Wow. Did you have ice cream at the wedding? I feel like that would have been appropriate.
I know. And I was just about to say, and on June the 7th, I still never have ice cream.
Dang. See. That is awesome. I love that. I love that story. And I love that even though you weren't necessarily looking for a serious relationship, his character, how he was trying to hold you accountable, be a partner in the plan that you committed to. I think that was awesome to hear. Like, oh, okay.
He showed up. He is just such an incredible man. I mean, like, that's even an understatement right there.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So what has it looked like for you as a military spouse navigating that journey and that partnership together?
You know, for me, I'm very, very honest because I'm a mental health advocate. It has been a journey of recentering myself and healing myself, understanding that healing is not linear, that, you know, it is in waves, because your trauma just doesn't go away. So after I got married, I realized that I knew that my work situation was toxic, but I thought that, oh, if I just quit because I'm getting married, that toxicity will be gone and I will be fine. And it was months after I had quit and, you know, settling into newlywed life, I was like, babe, I'm not okay. Like, I was like, I should be okay, because we just moved, we bought a new house, and like all these happy milestones, but there's a disconnect. And so I sought out therapy, and that's when I was really starting to piece together that this was all the remnants of unhealed, unresolved, I'm going to say unresolved trauma. It was conversations that needed to be had about how my workplace really amplified childhood trauma. And the childhood trauma was the story was that I, you know, didn't matter, that my voice didn't matter, that I was not going to make it, because I got overseen for so many promotions and so many just, you know, opportunities for praise from my superiors. So all these things were just reinforced in a toxic job environment. And that trickled over to me not being the best self at home, when I'm like, damn, I'm a newlywed.
Yeah.
Showing up. And this is supposed to be the honeymoon phase. And so I really encourage people to do that solo work, so that you can put your best foot forward and bringing the best marriage forward. Because you can't be a good partner when you're not even being good to yourself.
Yeah. And I thank you for being a mental health advocate and sharing your story transparently about, like, you were not okay and you brought that to your spouse, like you had, and you got and sought help. I think that's the part that I think people grapple with. They're not sure, like, when I know that I'm in a position where I'm not okay, what are those steps, or what are some steps that people can take? Because oftentimes we like to just say, oh, well, I'll focus on my kids. Oh, well, I'll focus on my marriage. Maybe I'll feel better if I can make this other thing over here better. Like, what do those steps look like when a person is like, something's not right? Like, something this reoccur, either it can be dreams. I know I've had that. I've had reoccurring dreams of like trauma, or I've just lashed out, not sure why, because I'm in like this, all of a sudden I feel like I have to protect myself in some way. Like things can come out in different ways, but when you get to the point of realization of like, hey, I'm not okay, what does that look like? What does taking a step look like? And maybe what is a resource that you could offer to anyone who's listening that may find themselves in like a, hey, it's been a rough couple of years, couple of months, couple of weeks, whatever that looks like for you. What is a next step for them when they have that realization that it's time for them to work on themselves?
So 100% agree that we use distractions as therapy.
Yes.
And as I think as military spouses, we're notorious for using positive distractions, but that's still taking away from yourself.
Absolutely.
So I think one is being brave enough to realize that you need help, right? Depression, anxiety, fear, social pressure, all these things tell us to be quiet. And they tell us this huge, ginormous lie to be quiet when you are feeling some kind of way. Like they give you all these excuses. Well, you just had a baby, so it's normal to feel a certain way. Oh, well, you're just transitioning from a new military base. It's normal to feel this way. Oh, well, you're newlywed, so it's normal to feel this way.
Yeah.
Your partner's deployed. It's normal to feel this way. Instead of just saying, hey, why don't you go talk to somebody about it? Everybody points you to normalization of unfamiliar, uncomfortable behavior, and they force you into silence. So the first thing is, I really want to tell people that if you feel like you need to be silent, that's the time to speak up most. So that's the first thing that I really want to say. The second thing is, I'm thankful for TRICARE. I am thankful for behavioral health services, but let's be honest, there are barriers to access, and sometimes it's really hard. As a military spouse, I can tell you that one time I went to go see a behavioral health psychologist on base, and while we were doing the intake, we haven't even gotten to the part of like actually unpacking some things. We're doing the intake, and she's like, oh, what's your highest level of education? And before I could get a word out, she says, high school diploma. And I'm like,
excuse me? Like, no.
Well, I'm about to lose my religion up in here. but and I wasn't in the greatest mental space, but I'm like, this is what so many soldiers, because this provider was an active duty service member. I was like, this is what, unfortunately, this is the stigma that military spouses bear. And to clarify, there is absolutely nothing wrong with having only a high school diploma. There's something with you making the assumption when military spouses are one of the most educated demographics.
That part.
So there's so many barriers to healthcare. So one of the resources that I've come to learn of that was started in 2015 is the Stephen A. Cohen Veterans Network. And it's a phenomenal behavioral health resource. They have locations all throughout the United States. And I just cannot speak enough about them. Stephen A. Cohen is a wealthy philanthropist, and his son went into the Marines. And after he came back post 9/11, he said, Dad, I'm okay, and I know the resources that I have, but my battle buddies, they're not okay. So his father sprung into action, poured a lot of money into behavioral health to establish easy access for service members and their families. And I have to say, to be able to just walk into a clinic and to do an intake and to, have something set up within just like that, that is such a blessing. I cannot recommend it enough. I just cannot recommend it enough.
That's amazing. And I think even the access and how quickly, because again, in normalizing our experience as military spouses, nothing is just like easy, right? It's always a process. It's always a waiting, a hurry up and wait scenario, right? And I think I am grateful for any resource that is thoughtful when it comes to not just the service member, but also the family. So thank you so much for sharing that resource. We'll definitely link that below for our listeners to look at as an option for whatever it is they may be dealing with.
Yeah,
So
and I also think if folks are maybe a little on the edge about going to seek help, which I get, right? There's two books that I highly recommend. It's The Body Keeps the Score. That's a little bit harder to read, to be honest. So maybe listening to it is better, but an easier read, but very impactful is a book by Oprah Winfrey called What Happened to You. And it's not just by her, it's also by a medical doctor and psychologist. So those are two books that are life-changing in understanding and affirming your trauma and then getting help.
yeah, I love that you bring up A Body Keeps the Score, because I think oftentimes service member or spouse, we do not take into account the amount of what we bring into, even if it's bringing into the relationship with this lifestyle or what is experienced through this lifestyle. I think we discount it, we do normalize it, and then we try to push it away as if it's not something. And I think oftentimes I love the concept even of your body keeps the score, because it shows up in our health, it shows up in different ways. And I think we can't keep ignoring those signs that keep coming up, like even with where it comes out, and I'm being very practical here, like skin rashes, like sweats when you're sleeping, like night terror, like there's so many like ailments, like physical pain in your body because of stress, because of trauma, because of things that we are not willing to deal with. And to think that just doing talk therapy, right, or more intense counseling and things like that, those are options that I am excited that people are more forthcoming to share their experience with, and that they are options for our community. Because I think oftentimes people shy away from it because of the stigma, but the reality is we need you well, right? We need you well, not just to serve, but we need you to be well in your marriage. We need you to be well in your body just as a person, right? Just to be. And I think oftentimes we can look at military families and we can look at the service member and just see them as a number, another person who is doing a sacrifice, and not think about truly what their well-being takes. And sometimes it does take addressing, not sometimes, all the time, it does take addressing these traumas, and we can't just sweep that under the rug and think another PT regimen or like meal plan is going to fix it. Like, it's not that. Sometimes, most times, all the time, that person will be better when they are dealing with that deeper thing. And it's nice to normalize this conversation of getting to the deep thing and not the easy thing of just a medication or.
Oh my gosh. I just have to say, like, yes to all of that, because I think, a lot of people, there's a lot of fat shaming in the world, right? And I'll joke and I'll say that I'm fluffy, but if we're really honest, most people who are overweight, myself included, this is the result of, this is how we deal with our trauma. So the military hospitals, they're like, okay, let's get you bariatric surgery. And I'm like, well, okay, how about let's give you all the weight loss medication. Like, well, how about you pay for my wellness coach, my fitness coach? And they're like, oh no, we can't do that.
And that's the part that I do not understand. And I mean, and again, I love that you started with a thank you and how grateful we are for TRICARE and the systems that we do have available and in place. But I too find myself in the same situation where I had something going on with my left leg, right? and they immediately just wanted to medicate. And I'm like, no, like, can we talk about, like, can I see a nutritionist? Can we look at some other like, is this a result of, I don't know, posture? Let's just stop trying to put a band-aid on something and send somebody back out the door. I'm talking about my service members included. Like, let's not just try to put a band-aid on it and send them back out the door. Let's actually care for the person. Like, that is why it is health care. And I think oftentimes we get away from caring for the person and actually really figuring out what is the why or the cause behind the thing. We're just trying to deal with this surface level topical solution, which is not really getting to the bigger issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because your healthcare team should be a team of providers that care for you and see you as an individual. And I'm really excited that my next journey is a long-term 2-year journey with my therapist and a coach that I've hired on my own to get myself to better wellness. Because this my trauma is not going to just resolve itself, and I have to have, the physical coach aspect, and I have to have the therapist aspect that has all the tools of the trade,
Yeah, no, I love that you say that. And this is another reason why I just want to take a little pause here and foot stomp the Military Marriage Day app. That is why that app exists. It is a hub for different resources that are available to our servicemen and women and their families, because we love our chaplains. We love the opportunities that TRICARE has for us to tap into. And sometimes it takes thinking outside the box, coming out of pocket, hiring the right clinician, the right coach, reading the right book, listening to a different podcast, for you to individualize that level of care that you may need to build your mill marriage. So we highly encourage you to check out the Military Marriage Day app. And I know this past Military Marriage Day, we also gave out a mill marriage grant. So what that looks like is for people who do have to come out of pocket for some type of care, coaching, therapy, something that's not covered, you can apply for that grant and you can get finances to help meet these needs as well. So
that is amazing. Sign me up, Bree.
Yes, we'll make sure to drop that information in the show notes as well, so that people, when we do have that, they can apply. It'll be in a holding period. And then when we go through and review as we get additional funding, we'll issue out those grants. And one of the things that I like to say as it relates to the mill marriage grant is what people need to build their mill marriage can look different. For one couple, it may look like my spouse really needs this coach, right? And that will improve the overall well-being of our family. Another family may say, we are arguing over food. I don't know how to put food on the table. Guess what? You can apply for the mill marriage grant if that is what is needed to serve your family. So shameless plug on that. I always want to make sure people are aware of the resources that we have here, especially as it relates to this conversation.
Thank you oh my gosh, thank you, Bree, for all that you do. You're such an amplifier for military life voice. And this world is so loud that we need voices like you desperately to get our voices across.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing your mill marriage story. Thank you for your transparency of your journey and the journey that you continue to walk with this 2-year plan. I'm excited to hear more and see you as you continue to shine in your advocacy and as you are on this journey of wellness. I do want to ask you, before we wrap up this episode, one of my favorite questions, which is, what is your heart track? Every guest, we love to kind of give people something to think about after the episode ends, with a song that maybe is like a theme song for you, or even just a theme for this episode, so that it continues to resonate with them after they've hit pause on the episode. So, Kimberly, you are in the hot seat. What is our heart track for this episode?
Oh, that's too easy. That's going to be Lift Me Up by Rihanna, because
oh, that's a good one.
Like the lyrics, if you take time to really listen to the lyrics, like that is what a relationship should be, I think.
Yeah. And I love it, even in the context of this conversation, lift me up from a getting yourself the help that you need, caring for yourself by building a team of healthcare providers around you to give you, to lift you up. So I love that. Shout out to Rihanna. We love Rihanna here. So that is our heart track for this episode. Thank you so much for being on Hearts and Stripes podcast.
Thanks, Bree. Always a pleasure.
Yes, and wait, let people know where they can connect with you as you continue your journey and as you continue to advocate.
You can find me on all the things at Kimberly is Gold. And that's my personal affirmation. Kimberly is Gold. So you could email me there, kimberlyisgold@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. All of the things.
Yes, Kimberly is Gold. Thank you so much. And until the next time, everyone have a great rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. This is Hearts and Stripes. We are the few, the proud, that aim high and are forged by love. Always ready, always there. We are Milmarriage Strong.